Welcome to the Cuda Photography Podcast, a podcast about nature and wildlife photography in your own backyard and throughout the United States. Okay, welcome back to the podcast. This is a special behind the shot podcast episode, which I do occasionally. Oftentimes, it comes out twice a month. And today, I wanted to take a look at a photograph I've called Glossy Ibis. If you will click in the show notes on the link, the follow along link, it will take you to my Flickr page where you can see the image and we can talk about it. The Glossy Ibis image was actually a lost image. It was an image that I had forgotten about. I didn't realize I had even taken it. I stumbled across it while I was doing some culling of my images, actually. And I saw the image and I thought, it's not a half bad image. And the more I looked at it, the more intrigued I was by the image. And it wasn't till later on that I realized that I really enjoyed this image. And I think that's one of the great things about photography, first of all, is that don't just throw away your images randomly. Go ahead and tag the ones that you like and give them a star rating in your favorite photo editing software. I use Lightroom, for example. I'll give it 1 star if it's in focus and it's something I kind of like. And that way, when I go back, I can look at all the 1-star items. Maybe months from now, I may get around to looking at some of the ones I didn't like, or trying to call the images in my library and so on. So don't just delete them quickly. I mean, if it's in focus and it's a decent composition, go ahead and save it, because you never know how it's going to strike you later. So anyway, I digress a little bit there. So the Glossy Ibis, this was taken at Merritt Island in Florida, Merritt Island is a wildlife refuge in eastern Florida. It's actually on Cape Canaveral. It's part of the whole Kennedy Space Center massive land ownership of theirs that they allow I don't know if U.S. Fish and Game, I think, to maintain this area just for waterfowl, and also for waterfowl, shorebirds, wading birds. They all congregate here, and it's a fabulous place to go. This particular, I do remember this shot, actually. I was in my car. I was going along the Black Point Wildlife Drive. If you're not familiar with the Black Point Wildlife Drive, I forget which episode it is, but within the first 10 episodes, I did a series on Florida bird photography, and I talk a lot about Merritt Island. So go ahead and check that out. But anyway, this photograph was taken fairly early in the morning. It was taken about, I'm guessing by the shadow here, probably maybe at 10 o'clock, maybe 9:30ish, 10 o'clock. So you're getting toward the end of the sweet spot of photographing birds. You can see a little shadow on his upper wing. That's not really desirable, but I don't think it kills the shot here. We've got good front lighting coming across his body and his head, and we can really see the iridescence of his feathers here in this shot. And so I think from that standpoint, it's a good shot. But what I really like about this image is the background. What you are seeing in the background there is actually the weeds, or not weeds, but the actual growth of plants in the wetland itself. And they're blowing around back there, and they're out of focus, and they've created this very interesting bokeh, I think. It's not a distracting bokeh to me. It's very interesting, and I think that really helps this image. The other thing is one of the things that birds do when they're landing, and this is an ibis coming in for a landing, they'll actually, at the last moment, they'll make this really sharp turn. A lot of times to kind of line up for their landing, and that's what you're seeing here in the shot. He's actually making a hard left turn on his final approach, and I think it's a compelling shot. They kind of got their landing gears down there, and they're coming in. the Glossy Ibis or Ibis, however you want to say it, is an interesting bird. Anyway, all the ibises are. I'm very fond of ibises. I think they're a very interesting wading bird. But particularly the Glossy Ibis is interesting because it has such translucency on its feathers, under its wings, and so forth. It kind of reminds me of what you would see on a grackle. It's that same kind of translucence that kind of a grackle has. So it's got that going for it. So I like that. But it's a shot that, and the reason I put it out here and wanted to talk about it was not because it's an awesome photograph, but because sometimes during the culling process, you miss a good shot. And this is a perfect example. I missed this shot, and it should have been out on Flickr long before I put it out there. I think it deserves to be there. And I know you probably got shots in your catalog that are the same way. And I really encourage you to get out there and take another look at some of your shots. And I think you'll find that they're not as bad as you thought they were. I think people are very judgmental on their photographs. Now, having said that, I do think it still needs to be technically correct if possible. You need to have an in-focus image, all that stuff. The lighting has to be good. So, yeah, there are rules, but sometimes you just missed it. This shot was taken with my Canon EOS 1D Mark II with the Sigma 150-600 Contemporary at f6.3, 600 millimeters, 1/1250th of a second at ISO 200. Well, that's all I had for this shot. Thanks for listening. Make it a great day, and get out there and enjoy nature. Bye-bye. Music for this episode was provided by Dr. Turtle.